care. My name is Karina, and I'm really happy that you are here today when we talk about why the sentence, it's gonna be okay, not always makes things okay. I'm gonna share with you a personal experience that I had a couple weeks ago when I sat in my doctor's office, and I have to say, I waited for this appointment for about 2 weeks, and these 2 weeks had been quite challenging. I felt that especially the nights were stretched like gum sometimes, and so there I was in my doctor's office waiting to see my doctor and to have more clarity. I was 11 weeks pregnant at the time, and I had two ultrasounds before that appointment, and both of them had not been very reassuring. So I was just eager to learn if my pregnancy was developing and if my baby was okay. And the thing is, I kind of knew that it's not okay. Um, I stopped having pregnancy symptoms about 10 days before my appointment. So I went into this appointment still having hope, but kind of knowing that it's not okay. And so while I was sitting there, my nurse came in and she asked me the questions that are just routine, and I know them, I can see them coming, but still I had a hard time just to focus on these questions and answer, like, how tall are you? What's the address of your pharmacy? Are you taking prenatal vitamins? And like, how tall are you is always a little challenging. I know it's silly, but I'm still thinking in centimeters, and centimeters is not always easily understood here. And so that was the first hurdle where I felt like, oh my gosh, I don't have the patience for it today. But we made it through, and we went through the rest with um, getting my blood pressure taken and getting my weight. And in the back of my mind, I always had this voice of like, well, what's the point? And the nurse looked at me at one point and was like, are you nervous? And I said, yes, I'm nervous. And at that moment, she kind of already left the room, but said while she was leaving, don't be nervous, it's gonna be okay. And honestly, that sentence, like, don't be nervous, it's gonna be okay, it was almost like a physical sensation, like a punch, um, where I just felt like even more alone than I already have been. Like, it was COVID, it is COVID times, and my husband was not allowed to come in into the appointment, and so I just felt that my nervousness and my pain and my loss was not acknowledged, and I'm not understood, and I'm pretty alone. And all I wanted in that moment was to have some kind of connection. And so when that sentence came, I just didn't feel it. I even got angry, and I was like, almost like, well, why are you not reading the chart? Why are you not understanding that I'm not here a happy mom with 11 weeks? Like, it's not like that. And um, I also felt like, well, if you know and you say it's okay, what does that mean? Do you think that it's okay for me to lose my baby? And I know that I was not objective in that moment or fair. Um, but a lot of things went through my head, and again, like, my need for connection, for empathy, for mourning just hasn't been met. And the well-meaning sentence of it's gonna be okay did kind of the opposite of making me feeling even more alone. So that's what I want to talk about today, because it's a sentence that I used as a nurse. I found myself in situations where a wife was very upset because her husband had a massive stroke, and she would keep asking me, but he's going to be the same. We are going to do the same things than before. Like, And there is an urge that you make it better and that you say something to give comfort and to somehow magically transform the pain into something less painful. But that's not really available or possible. And so I kept thinking the last couple of weeks, well, what would meet my need in that moment for connection and for empathy and for mourning and understanding? And it's quite honestly, it's not a lot. It's quite simple. And I think that sometimes the problem almost, like if we have a very dramatic or complicated situation, we don't feel like that a simple answer is going to do it or it's going to be sufficient. But quite honestly, in that moment, if I would have just felt a touch, or if I would have seen a smile through the mask or get eye contact, I think it would have gone a really long way. And if there are words available in that moment, then everything that I needed to hear was an acknowledgement of like, well, you're really nervous about this appointment today. And that would have been totally sufficient, or maybe even a little more, and be like, the doctor is with you really shortly, and we are here for you. And that's really all I needed in that moment, to feel understood and heard and seen and getting some warmth. And that's all I wanted to share with you today, to not overthink it when you are in a situation where it feels hard to be in and painful to be in. I think the only thing you can do is to just be there, and to not run away with a sentence like it's gonna be okay, it's not that bad, but to be there and to be yourself. Like, not everybody may want to touch, and that's totally okay. Not everybody wants to be touched, but to say or to be present as you can, and as it's available to you. And there is no master sentence that would always fit, but I'm sure that if you want to connect to that other person, the other person will feel it. And that's really as small, or can be as small, as eye contact. So yeah, that's it for today. I'll see you next week. Be safe. Bye.